Well, we continue live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. Big Biz Show's on the air. Sully here, Costa there. And the DTC, the claw. You guys are good. Yes. Brian's not going to get fined this week. But Mike may. I had to say that. Sorry. Hey, great to have you along today, as usual. And one of our favorite parts of the program is when you send us emails giving us advice on who we should have on the air, which we largely ignore, unless you get a company like this, which is a company called Nutex Health Incorporated. Anybody heard of micro hospitals?
No.
Speaking of making me sick to my stomach, okay. Has anybody heard? Have you heard of a micro hospital? I've heard of tiny homes. I've heard of
mini campers.
Yeah, urgent care facilities,
sure.
Right?
Sure.
But there's this thing called micro hospitals, and of course, Nutex Health, which is publicly traded under the stock symbol NUTX, is an expert in that field. Dr. Tom Vo is the CEO and chairman of the board of this company, and we got him to join us here on the air on Big Biz, nationwide, coast to coast, and also on American Forces Radio Network. That's right, we're TV and radio. But it's the future of healthcare. Tom, thanks for joining us, pal.
No, thank you very much.
Talk to us about this. Talk to us about this micro hospital concept, because we've never heard of it before.
Yeah, we've been in business for about 10 years, even though we've been public for only about 8 months or so. But a micro hospital is exactly what it sounds like. It's a small hospital. I'm sure you've seen big hospitals that are about 1,000 beds, that are about maybe 100,000 square foot. Our hospital is a lot smaller. It's about 20,000 square foot. It has a fully functional 24/7 ER. It's got 4 to 10 inpatient beds. And that's it. That's all we do. We deal with maybe 2 or 3 service lines. We're very good at it. And we treat every patient that walks through the door, and the patient that we can't treat, we would then transfer to a much bigger hospital. That's basically the model. And the demand for this model has been very robust for the past 10 years or so.
So Dr. Vo, talk to us about the advantages of a micro hospital versus the giant St. Elsewhere that we see on television. What's the advantage of a micro hospital?
Well, many advantages. So the main advantage is that it's smaller, is much more replicable. It's versatile. You could put it really anywhere in any neighborhood, any city that needs healthcare. And it's much cheaper to run, and it's much more efficient. And not only that, since we deal with mainly emergencies, we're very good at it. And so when a patient comes in, the wait's a lot less. And not only that, the care is better than the much bigger hospital with many more service lines.
The interesting part of this thing is, so you are expanding what we would see in a normal urgent care situation, where they're assessing what's going on, they're taping you up, stitching you up, but they're not really a surgical suite, and they can't really do the full complement of services. Is that the big difference here?
Yeah, no, that's the main difference. The main difference is that urgent cares are ran mainly by mid-level providers like nurse practitioners, PAs, and so they could diagnose a lot of stuff, but they really can't do a lot. And so when that happens, we actually get a lot of referrals from urgent cares. And so when they can't handle that, they would send the patient to us.
I've got a question about, let's do top down in healthcare, because I found this thing, and only because I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford it, MDVIP, which means that when I need a doctor, my doctor, I have his cell phone. Mm-hmm. I call his office. I need to be in there this afternoon at 4:15. I can get an appointment today at 4:15. I'm in front of him.
Like concierge.
It is. I'm in front of him. Now, and it's not that cost prohibitive. I mean, it costs a little bit more. It's not that much more. But I mean, at the end of the day, the reason I did it and decided to forego on my extra visit to Starbucks every week or whatever it's costing me in exchange for that is because the existing state of healthcare is that it's overcrowded and it's run like Social Security. No, it's really, and I don't care if you're private practice or public health or even public hospitals. That is the main problem, is that they're pushing us through like sheep, and none of it's efficient. Is that the biggest issue in your mind, is the inefficiency, not to mention the inefficacy of what's going on in there?
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the inefficiencies. And so our model basically addresses all those inefficiencies and provides more accessibility to patients like yourself. So you're fortunate in the sense that you do have a private doctors, but the majority of Americans do not have that privilege. And so the majority of Americans, unfortunately, have to end up in an emergency room when they need care, unfortunately, simply because there's a lack of primary care providers, and there is a very inconvenient for them to schedule an appointment. with their primary providers.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, look at I've given up. I gave up. I've been doing this for I think 10 years now with that, and I gave up certain things in my life because at some point, have you guys heard me say, my time's more valuable than my money at some point. Because when you just need to go in for a physical that should literally take a couple hours if they do a complete physical, it shouldn't take 6 because you're waiting for 3. And I think that's a piece of this. The other thing too is there's a number of articles about how they triage ER patients across this country, and the triage issue, in other words, the who gets priority, comes down to the fact that it depends on how crowded your ER room is. Sometimes even the most, even gunshot wounds have got to sit there for a second.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. I'm assuming, Dr. Vo, that this takes care of it. That Nutex micro hospitals take care of an emergency situation differently, or do you guys stay away from the ER side of it?
Oh, no. We deal 100% with the ER side, and that's the difference with our efficient model. Is that if you come in with say something like an ankle sprain or an abdominal pain, you don't have to compete with the other gunshot wounds or the heart attack or the acute stroke that are in the bigger ER. And so that's the one difference, is that we do see patients a lot faster. We do see the patient in a more coordinated way, and we triage, we treat, and we discharge or transfer much better than the other model. And so I think that's the biggest difference with our model versus the other models.
Hey, Dr. Bill, last of all, and I want to have you back on the air because it's an interesting topic. Do you have trouble getting doctors and nurses and staff in this micro model because it's not the norm? I mean, what's your adoption rate on the employee side?
Oh, our adoption rate has been fantastic, and here's the reason why. The reason why is our culture. We have a fantastic culture that makes it a very great work environment for both doctors and nurses. Number one. Number two is that most of our doctors are also investors in our hospitals. And so through our public company,
sure,
and the real estate. And so once you have doctors that are owners that take ownership of the hospital,
sure,
patient care will be better and much faster and more efficient.
The name of the company, once again, is Nutex Health. They are publicly traded under the stock symbol NUTX. I said it was the last question. I got one more for you. In every state, eventually, where are we located now, and where are we going?
Right now we have 22 locations in 8 states. We're going to probably double our size in about 2 years, and we're going to add 5 more states. So we'll be in about 14 states in about 2 years.
God, I love it. You come back on the air with us, Tom? I hope so.
We'd love to.
Dr. Tom Vo.
God.
The future of healthcare.
The weight.
The micro hospital.
Genius.
I think so too. All right, more Big Biz coming up. Stand by. Sully, Costa, the day trader Quattro.
The Qua.
The Qua. We need a clothing sponsor.